Hi everyone, this is Diovana. Welcome to our presentation, to our webinar tonight. I also have my colleague Ludo. He will help me out with this presentation. Hi Ludo. So this is me, Diovana. I'm a buying consultant here in Eindhoven for H&N, Expat Housing Network. We are a company that help expats in the whole Netherlands to buy a house and also rent a property. This is our team. We have people from all over the world. I am from Brazil. I've been in the Netherlands for, I think, 12 years or now, maybe it's 13 though. I lost count of it. But for a long time, and you can see our team, we are from everywhere, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Poland, you name it. We have people from all over. So we are expats as much as you, and we know how tough the market is. So what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to try to help you understand as much as possible the whole process of buying a house in the Netherlands. We will also inform you about what you're going to do during the process, who you're going to meet during the process of buying your house, and answer all your questions. I really mean all your questions. Just please keep them for the end of the presentation, all of them. We will answer all of them. And also, I believe in a few days, you will receive this presentation and also the video of the webinar via email. And after that, feel free to send me any emails if you still have questions that you forgot or something that came up that is new. You will see my email address at the end of the presentation as well. So feel free to email me. Let's start. So let's talk about a bit of the market news. There are good and bad news, I would say. Well, the bad news is not bad, but it's that the market is going crazy, and we don't have any news for you that will stop or will slow down, or you're going to have the chance to buy a little bit cheaper or something like that. Actually, the news are that the market is going to grow even more, around 8% actually, even during this whole crisis. We thought that last year at the beginning of the crisis that the market would slow down a little bit. It did for the first 3-4 months. People were a bit afraid of buying a house. But after June, end of May of June, people just were like, no, it's not going to slow down. Corona won't go anywhere. So we're going to keep buying it. So it is exactly what is happening. We are living with this new way of living, and the market is just following it. So we don't see literally any kind of going down or any bad news for the house markets. Well, the bad news it would be is that it's going to grow even more. So it means the house might be even expensive than they are today. So the market price develops per different region. That's something you do have to consider. Eindhoven is on the top of our region, of course, because of the whole IT and high-tech companies, ASML, Philips, TU. So it is developed very, very fast, and it's growing really fast. A lot of people want to live specific in Eindhoven. So you cannot compare the prices from here to small cities around. There are different prices, and there are different ways to approach the process of buying as well. Supply, demand, and sentiment are key to development. Yes, it's very important to know how to proceed in this market and how to approach all the houses you probably see or you saw already, and the way you do it. So there is still a shortness of houses in the Netherlands. It's even a little bit bigger than there was now because of the amount of people that are working in this country, and they're keeping coming. Although Corona is here and the whole travel ban is happening, people are able to come. So unfortunately, the government is doing what they can. That's what they said to build more houses and faster. But yeah, it is a lot of people, so it's been a bit difficult. I would like to talk about the short term of buying a house. If you're thinking about moving out of the Netherlands within a year or two, I would very much advise you not to buy a house and rent a house. But if you're thinking about staying for at least 3 years, then yeah, then it is a good advice to buy a house. You will see an increase of the value. You will be able, depends on your offer, of course, to recover a bit of it and maybe even make a profit. Here we go, 7 steps of buying a house in the Netherlands. We're going to talk about the mortgage advice. We're going to talk about how to start your search and look for your house. I believe I want to even say that maybe some of you already saw houses, how to do your viewings and research properties, submit an offer, what you need in an offer to be a correct one, how does the inspection and the appraisal works, how does the purchase contract that you have to sign to start your mortgage process works, and what to expect when the transfer deed and the mortgage deed are due and you have to go to the notary. So let's start about with the mortgage. Bank or a mortgage advisor. First of all, if you are already looking for a house, I hope you already have an idea of how much you can borrow. That's very important before you start anything, or to hire someone to help or anything. Just please be aware of how much you can borrow. That's very important, but not just looking at online advisors or banks, but having a conversation is very important. Whether it's a bank or a mortgage advisor, it's very, very important for you to know for sure how much you can borrow. Shall you go to a bank or shall you go to a mortgage advisor? So that's kind of a simple answer. A bank will sell you their product and that's it, nothing else, right? A mortgage advisor, you will show you many institutions that can provide mortgage to you. I believe in the Netherlands around 38 to 40 something, no, if more, 50, 47, 50 different institutions that can provide mortgage. And we don't have access to them, only the mortgage advisors have. So that's the difference. And they can have, they can also advise you in how to use your whole payslip to get the mortgage, to get a better, a higher price, for example. I know a few banks don't accept a few things. For example, ABN doesn't accept bonus as a part of your income. Rabobank does. So those are the difference. Those are kind of things that are you going to go after and look for yourself in each of those banks. But I believe you only have access to 3 or 4 banks, and a mortgage advisor can look at your salary and everything and see where it fits better. You're going to pay a bit more, of course, but also you have a more private service, right? Normally what you get, just a fast calculation, is an average of 5 times your yearly gross salary. Again, some banks will consider your bonus or your 30 salary, some banks will not. So that's when it comes the difference that you have to be aware. And of course, the difference in interest rates and payoff penalties. And you do have penalties if you want to pay your mortgage at once. Most of the banks have a penalty that you have to pay a certain amount to be able to do so. You are able to freeze the interest rate for about, I think now for 20 years. I haven't heard of any bank that goes higher than that. And most of them will allow you to pay around 10% of the mortgage price per year as a payoff. But more than that, you might have to pay a penalty. So, mortgage advisor, what does the mortgage advisor do? The mortgage advisor will share more information on the mortgage and the best conditions and rates. He will help you prepare the right documents, which is very important. Different banks need different documents. He will submit the mortgage application once your offer gets accepted. And he will submit your, he will show you a lack of banks or institution that will provide you mortgage to. He will show which one has the best interest rates for you and which mortgage will be better for you comparing to your looking at your payslip. He will do all that job for you. So this is Robin. He works for Mortgage, Mr. Mortgage. He is the one who you contact when you need it and have a personal conversation. You can also have a private conversation with Rob. If you like, just let him know. We would share his contacts if you need it. How will you start your search? I believe most of you know that we have a platform in the Netherlands called Funda, www.funda.nl. Funda is a platform where I would say 99% of the properties are there, that you can see them, that you can see pictures and information. You can also go to Funda and select the neighborhoods you'd like to live in, how big the house you would like to live in, your average as a price, also a range of kilometers, which is very important. A lot of people want to live specific in Eindhoven and don't know there are cities that are only 3 or 2.5 kilometers away, little village that you could live there. It's a bit cheaper than living here. You have sometimes bigger houses with a big backyard, or even a better apartment if you're looking for an apartment. Most of the houses are on Funda. There are in Eindhoven area a few companies, a few agents there do put their properties on Facebook first. A few, I would say around 3 to 4 hours. That's what the average that I saw it from the past weeks before on Facebook. And afterwards it goes to Funda. So be aware of that when you go. I can tell you a few of them. I think Hippodomos is one, DHVC, Sutens Makelaar, those are the 3 I remember now, but they do put the platform, the properties on Facebook before on Funda, and they do give the viewings to the people who send them emails through Facebook or message to get a viewing. I know about that. I get a lot of questions about properties that are sent they are not on Funda, that the agents have for themselves, let's say, and don't announce to anyone and just call other agents and offer. Yeah, that exists. But that was an amazing thing 2 years ago when the market was not that insane. They would call me, for example, and ask me if I had clients for that specific purpose. And those days, they are not doing that much. I think I receive about 1 property every 3 to 4 months, because it's much more, they have much more possibilities to get a higher offer if they do put on Funda. They have much more people. There is one agent now there is doing a lot of online viewings, so which means that you are not allowed to go to the viewing. You're going to see a 3D viewing online, and you have about an hour after that to put an offer. It's quite, I believe it's a bit insane, but buying a house like that, but it is happening. So most likely the properties will be on Funda because it's just easy. They get more appointments, more offers. The chance that they got the price go high, it's enormous. So it's much better for them as well. Which neighborhoods? That's if you're not familiar with the region, if you don't know where to live yet, I would very much advise you to look at the house on Funda. If you have the time on the weekend, cycle to the neighborhood, or take the bus to see how public transportation works as well, how far is from your job. If you have kids, take a look at the website of the City Hall to see about the schools around. You can have a lot of information on that on the City Hall, on the Eindhoven website. And then you get to know a bit more on the neighborhoods. There are websites in the Netherlands where you can see crime rates as well for each neighborhood, for each postcode, you can see that. So that's also possible. But for me, the most important thing is really walk around, see if you feel comfortable with, if you feel that you can see yourself living there and see yourself at home. So that will be a good start. There are neighborhoods, of course, that are a bit more expensive nowadays because of the amount of expats, because they have different facilities in the neighborhood itself. Yes, there are. But that's up to you. Everyone has a different approach and a different things that they want in a neighborhood, right? So with or without an agent, that's, I believe, it's very personal. But of course, I'm going to tell with an agent because I am an agent, so I will never say no to that. But I do believe when you have an agent, I had one for myself when I bought my first house. It was very important. I had no idea about a lot of the Dutch documents that comes with in a house. I will talk to you about them a little bit further. The agents have a good contact with other agents as well. They will tell you the real value of the property, if that's a good price, and how to negotiate to get that. What do you need to do to get that? Also, which clause you need to have in your offer. This is very important. I see a lot of people coming and ask me or telling me that they bought a house and didn't put that or some specific clause, and afterwards the house had problems, or they were not able to get financial. And those specifics make a huge difference when putting your offer. So I will always going to tell you, of course, with an agent, you're more secure. That's the truth. And they know the neighborhoods. They know the conditions of the house as well. And they know the other agents, if they are fair enough, if they will do if you're going to have a smooth process. I think this is the most important thing, that you are safe, that you feel safe enough to sign all the papers and move forward. So yes, an agent will be it would be something that would be very good in the process of buying a house, especially in a market like that. But of course, you can do it yourself. It's not rocket science. You could, if you have all the information, go for it. If you feel secure, go for it. You're always going to save some money, of course. And but just be careful, please. Viewing, researching properties, condition of the property. So there are, that's very important to know when you go to a property, what you're looking for, and to find out as much as you can about the house. So when, how you find out about that? Of course, looking everything they put it on Funda and ask you questions. If it's an older house, ask, for example, how old is the roof? What the last time they paint the walls, the window frames. How old is the boiler? When did they do maintenance? Those are questions that are very important for you also to make up your offer, because if you need to renovate a whole house, you're not going to pay a huge amount of money and then expend more 50,000 euros renovate the house. Also because the bank won't give you all their money, so you need to be careful with that. So check the condition of the house. How you check that? You can ask for the documents to the agents, ask for the documents of the house, go through all the documents, ask your questions, be prepared in your viewings to know, ask why they're selling the house, for example. Those small questions will make a huge difference when you are preparing your offer, especially if the house is old and it needs renovation, or if there was some major leakage, for example, of something on the structure of the house or something like that. That will be very expensive to fix it. Roofs are very expensive to fix it. So that's how you get yours to prepare your offer. That's when you see how much do you need to do this and that. So request the properties, it's very important. The document is very important. Find out about the landlord, VVA, and neighbors. Well, VVA is the owner associations. If you're going to see an apartment, also a few houses in Eindhoven now have VVA. It's the owner associations who pay a monthly fee. If it's a house, what we see more in Eindhoven is more every 3 months or 6 months that you have to pay a fee. Normally are those houses when they have a backside parking place, it's closed, so you have an entrance, you have a gate, so that needs maintenance, and you pay in a fee every 3 to 4 months. But if it's an apartment, you're going to pay a monthly fee. Sometimes they are very high, so that's why you need to request the documents, because not all the time you see not all the time you see that amount on Funda, or you see, but you don't see what is included. Some of them include heating costs, some of them don't include heating costs. And also when you request the documents from the owner association, you also see how much they have in cash in the association, what are they going to use the money for, what do they did it in the past, and how is the condition of the building itself, of course, because you're going to become an owner of the building as well, part of it. So you need to know how is the condition, right? Ask about your neighbors. It's good to know who are your neighbors. People have want to know who is living next door, and if they let's say you are young and you look at next door and you have a very old couple. So that means parties won't happen that often without having a fight with your neighbor. But those are the questions you should ask and try to find out more, of course. Request the proper documents. That's something we talked about it. That is very important. And price research. Price research is something that a lot of people don't do. They also don't know how to do it, and that's when an agent come in handy. What is the price research? Is trying to find out for how much the properties around or the look like the one that you are seeing were sold in the maximum the past year. Why maximum past year? Because the houses were not much cheaper, but they were about, I would say, almost 10% cheaper last year, the beginning of the year or the year before, end of the year, 2009. So that makes a huge difference when you put an offer. Then you know also you're going to have an idea for how much the appraiser will evaluate the house. And because you do need a valuation report to be able to get your mortgage from the bank. I will explain to you a little bit further. And so that's why the price research come in handy. You cannot just send any offer, especially if you need 100% financial, because you won't be able to get that. If you not get that value on an appraisal report, you're not going to get 100% financial. You do need that on the paper. So that's why the price research can very handy. Then you know for how much the houses around were sold, what the percentage, and how much it could be, what is a fair price for this house. Nevertheless, people will come with crazy offers. It happens more often than I was expecting now, but it happens. A lot of people have money just in the bank accounts and they're ready to throw it away. So then it comes the crazy offers. So this is my colleague, Alana. She is a buyer consultant agent. Alana will inform you and assist you during the whole full process of the purchase in the house. We will be there with you since the beginning. We'll search, schedule viewings and join you to do them all, let you know what you need to ask, what are the questions, what do the documents tell you, do the price research, and negotiate the offer, prepare the offer, a client profile as well, prepare the offer, let everything ready for you and to send the offer when it's needed. After the offer gets accepted, we'll schedule the notary, appraisal, technical inspection, and join you to the meetings as well, be there for you. We have different packages in our company. I will talk to you a bit later about that. And of course, review all the Dutch and legal documents together and explain to you while you're signing. Also, all the documents from the property as well, especially when it's an apartment. I think there are about 20 files, PDF files and documents for one apartment. So all in Dutch. With a lot of numbers as well about owner association. So that's when you have to do the property research and price research and put those documents together and to prepare your offer. Submit an offer, final purchase price. So where does the final purchase price come? The final purchase price comes from the price research. So in the price research is where we can find out how much the house is worth and where you can see how much the bank will also be able to give it, right? Because the bank needs, if you need 100% financial, as I told you, the bank will need a report of that value. If let's say the house costs 300,000 euros and you offer 320, if the appraiser comes and go to the house and put and said that the house value is 310, you will have to come up with 10,000 euros on your own, or you will have to get out of the deal without not getting the house. That's basically how it works. So that's why we see a lot of people coming with cash above what the house is worth, because they were not able to get that value on the appraisal report. So that's when we do the final purchase price. Of course, it's your money. You're the one who chooses how much you want to pay for it, but we always going to give our advice. Also, when the advice is a negative, that we tell you that it's too much, don't pay it, wait for the next one. But it's your money. It's you do what you like to do. The solving clause, this is very important in an offer. I see a lot of people sending offers only with a number, nothing else. For example, technical inspection. If you're buying a house that's older than 20 years old, please put a technical inspection in the offer, that you go there with a technical inspection. You look at the house, you will see everything. You explain a bit further as well. What does he do? And if something comes up, you are able to get out of the deal without paying any penalty. So that's very important. Of course, financial clause when it's necessary. A lot of people are buying without financial clause these days, and that's okay as long as you have an okay from your mortgage advisor or the bank. In the Netherlands, there are no pre-approval mortgages, but they do. They can tell you when everything will be fine, you have all the right documents and more than enough budget, most likely you'll be fine. So those are the dissolving clause that you have to have in your offer, that will protect you if something comes up, if something goes wrong. Because if something goes wrong, you don't get your mortgage approved, for example, you will have to pay 10% of, I will have to get some water, give me a second. You will have to pay 10% of the purchase price of the house as a penalty to the seller, and that's what makes a huge difference, because people don't know about that. Most of people don't know about that. The name is bank guarantee, and if you don't put the soft clause, you will end up paying that penalty. We're going to talk as well about the timeline and the deadline to do your offer, and you have the time to do your research. You find your house, you go into the viewings, you do your price research, you look at all the documents and everything, you prepare your offer, and then there is a deadline to send the offer. Once your offer gets accepted, you're going to have a deadline for your mortgage and for the bank guarantee as well. And then it's time for you to go to the notary. You're going to go further, and then you can see how it goes. Inspection and appraisal. So the technical inspection, as I told you, is the guy that will go to the house. You went to your house, you saw the house on Funda, you make the appointment, you went there, you liked it a lot, you prepare your offer with all the right clause, the offer got accepted. That means if you have a technical inspection clause, it means it's time for you to bring him before you sign your purchase agreement. So you bring the technical inspection, he will be there, I would say, for about an hour, if it's not such a bad house, 45 minutes. Give me a second. And then he's there, he's going to take a picture of every inch of the house. He's going to look of every single thing in the house. He's also going to look at the documents, the list of things on the house to see if it, let's say some of those documents in the house, they will tell you, for example, did you have ever had a leakage, for example. So let's say the seller say yes, and then they will write it where, when, and if it's fixed. So when they write something like that, the technical inspection get that document, and he will directly to that place in the house and see if everything is fine, if it was really fixed, if there is no mold in the wall, for example, or on the floor or whatever, where the leakage was. So that's why you're going to see the report. He will see the roof, he will see the outside of the house. You see here foundation inspection, but we don't have that in Eindhoven. That happens more in Amsterdam because the water, of course, all the canals, but not in Eindhoven. So you don't see that often, but that's basically what not at all actually in Eindhoven, but basically that's what the technical inspection, the inspector does. He goes to the house, and I always advise my clients to go with him, even in this Corona time. Of course, keep your distance, but go with him, because at the same time, he's already going to tell you what have to be fixed and more or less how much it costs. And then you know if you want to go further with your offer or not. Of course, if you put that clause in your offer, otherwise they might not like to come and do the technical inspection or break a deal because of it. So make sure you do that before you sign anything. And then I had a case before that we found the technical inspection was at the house. The house was old. I think it was from 1940 or something, maybe a little bit older, but they did renovate everything. But apparently they did not renovate the roof, or they thought they did, or they did something that was not that much. So the technical inspector went there, and he pulled something, some OSB plank. So he pulled a little bit, and when he looked at it inside, it was just disgusting. It was mold everywhere. It was terrible. So he put on the report that the cost for that was about almost 15,000 euros to fix the whole roof and the ceiling because of the whole mold thing. The seller didn't even know about it. It was a surprise for him. But in this case, the seller was quite nice. We were able to negotiate the price. Well, the cost, because the costs were immediately and needed to be fixed. So I think in this case, I think it was 50-50. The seller decided to cover 50% and my clients really wanted the house. So they were okay paying the other 50. So that's also, you see, when you see something major in the technical inspection report, normally you receive it with 1 day or so, but if you go with it, he already tell you what it is. Then you might be able to negotiate. Some people will not negotiate whatsoever. That happens with my house. They didn't negotiate and I just had to take the house the way it was, but I was planning to renovate. So it was not that a bigger surprise or anything. But yeah, you have both sides. So the appraiser, what does the appraiser do? The appraiser is the one that also goes after offer gets accepted. He goes to the house. In this one, you don't have to be with it. He's gonna take pictures as well of the house, but he's gonna make a report, official report. That's the report the bank will ask you. In this report, he will say to the bank how much the house is really worth it. And based on that, is if you need 100% financial, you will be able to get that value as a mortgage. If you offered more than that, you're going to have to pay the difference or just pull out of the deal. And if you pay less than that, good for you. The house is worth even more. So that means when you have to sell it, some banks you are able to get that amount as well. It depends on what you intend to do in the house. But some banks will give you what you need actually. But that's why the appraisal report, and it's mandatory. All the banks, mortgage advisor, whatever you do your mortgage, they will ask you for that report. The technical inspector, it's not mandatory. It's more for you to know the house and what you need to do for the house. It's more like a peace of mind when you buy an old house, or not even so old, right? Older than 10 years old, for example. A contractor, also when after your mortgage gets accepted, or if you have the chance to bring a contractor even before, if you are intending to do any renovations, you buy a house that are a bit older, you need a new kitchen or something like that, and you want to get a quotation, if you are able to bring even before you send the offer, that's great, because then you know already how much you can pay as an offer and how much it will cost. But in this time, it's a bit difficult to have a second viewing, so you might be able to only have a contractor afterwards. So that's the time to bring him and make a whole get a whole offer on how much it will cost for you to do renovation, because especially if you need to prove to the bank that you will do a renovation. So you have also to tell that to the appraiser, so he can put that amount in the report as well. So the appraiser, this is Michelle. She's the appraiser. The bank will ask Michelle for a report before confirming your mortgage. That's exactly what I said. It's mandatory, you need it. So that's the time also if you want to put solar panels, if you want to buy a new boiler because it's old, those kind of things. That's the time when you tell the appraiser what you're going to do to the house that will improve the price of the house. So then she can already put that amount in the report. So you might be able to borrow even a bit more. Of course, you're going to have to prove to the bank you did the improvements. But yeah, this is the time where you tell what is going to happen, and they will ask for how much you will expend with that. Of course, you're going to have to prove it. So she's going to come after the offer gets accepted to tell the value of the house. How do they do that? It's basically what the price research, when we do the price research, we look at the comparable properties sold in the past year or so. And they also, if it's an apartment, they will look the condition, how is the VVA, if it's a healthy VVA, if they have money in savings, if they're planning renovation, if they did it in the past, if they have enough in savings, if something happens, if they have insurance. I think it's actually mandatory. The VVA has home insurance, so you don't have to pay that when it's an apartment. When it's a house, you do have to pay that. It's also mandatory for the bank to get your mortgage. So then she will prepare the report. The organization that does the official report, it calls NEVVI, is a Dutch organization, of course, that those professionals have an official, how to say, number, not a number, but official Ludo, help me out with the word. I forgot official.
What do you mean with one more time?
They're officials from the NVVA, from the appraisers. They have all the credentials. That's the
credentials, indeed. Yeah, and
they have the credentials from the NVVA to make the official report. So once that is shared and everything is done with the NVVA, the report will be shared with the bank, and that's what you need to start your mortgage. You need to send that to your mortgage advisor or to your person in the bank. As it says there, it might take 3 to 7 days to that happen. So that's why you do that before you sign the purchase agreement. So the building inspector, this is the technical inspection that will come and request to check the property's condition. That will be a visual inspection, and the report here in Eindhoven, it takes about a day to be ready, and then you get all they put in the report all what do you need to do, how long, when do you have to do it. For example, for the roof problem that I told you before, it was a direct thing. They have to do it immediately. So they had in this report that we do it in Eindhoven, we have 3 different columns: 0 to 1 year, 2 to 5, and 5 to 10 years. So 0 to 1 year, it's when you have to focus, because the rest, if it's a house that's someone already lived there, that's normal. It's always going to have something for you to fix it. Of course, if it's not something major, but in this case, it came 0 to 1 year, which means immediately to change the whole roof and make it better. So that's how the report will come, and with a photo and also with a price, how much more and less it costs for you to do those kind of improvements in the house. And that's what you're going to use to negotiate, if it's possible, to get that fixed, or if they're going to deduct from the price, or they're going to fix it. Some I have a case that we did found a few things that were broken. It came in the report, like light switch and some stuff on the kitchen that were broke, pipes or so. No, in the radiator, one radiator was leaking and the other one was not working. The technical inspector saw that. So the seller said he would fix it. He had a construction company, so he decided to fix it himself. So of course, everything will be checked afterwards. I will explain to you a little bit further on the last inspection that you do before you get your keys. So everything has to be checked, but they decided to fix it themselves. That also happened. And again, you have the people, the sellers, that will say, nope, not fixing. If you don't want to, I sell to the next one. So that also happens. So purchase contract. So you did your search, you did your viewing. You saw the house, you like it, you put an offer, the technical inspector were there, everything was fine, the appraisal were there, everything was fine. It's time for you to sign the purchase agreement. What is the purchase agreement? It's the deal between you and the seller. The purchase agreement will say, will describe how much you pay for the house, what are all the conditions that were in your offer. They will be also in the purchase agreement. Also will say that you have about 6 weeks to get your mortgage approved. So be aware. I have seen contracts in Eindhoven. I had one this week actually that had no financial clause. My clients bought it without financial clause, and then the agent of the seller decided to put in the contract that my client had 5 days to pay the bank guarantee. So that's not allowed. So be careful with that. So I told him, like, no, it ain't happened. So we had to change, of course, that's not fair. You do have more or less 6 weeks to pay to have your mortgage approved, and to pay the bank guarantee, the 10% of bank guarantee. That's the penalty if something happens. The notary will take that money. It will be there until the whole process is done, and if something happens, they will be the one who will pay the fine, but you pay, the bank will do that for you, and then they will send the money to the notary, and the notary will be responsible to pay the party that has the problem. But that's it. It's time for you to sign. So that's what is going to be on the contract. Also, all the clause, the financial clause, bank guarantee, if there was any specifics clause, if the house is old from 1920 or 1900s, they are these days putting the old clause for old houses, saying that you knew when you went to the house that the house was old. So if there's something comes up afterwards after you get the keys, don't blame anyone. It's not very nice, but it is legal. I don't like that clause. I fight against every time I have a contract with that. Sometimes I'm very, I can be very awful and tell them I don't want it and that's it. Sometimes I do win and they take it off, but not all the time, of course. But there are different clauses that are in the contract, so don't be aware with that. Also in the contract, we will say who is who and who is responsible to do what. If you are married or if you have a partner, we will say who is it will explain that you both are buying, that you're buying together, that is 50-50 and those kind of things. You can also buy yourself, of course. Even if you have a partner, you don't have to buy your house with another person in the Netherlands. It's not mandatory if you're married or anything, you can decide it. So but those are the things that we'll see in the contract. Also, you're gonna see that most of the contracts come with the name of the notary. You are, the notary, I didn't tell you about the notary. In your offer, you are also allowed to put that you're gonna choose your notary. Why is that? Because agents that are selling agents, they of course they have notaries, they work with many notaries, but then notaries have different prices. You don't have to pay the higher prices, so just take the cheapest one. When you need a notary, ask for a quotation. Take the most cheapest one. They all do the same job. The contracts are the same in the Netherlands. It's super simple. There's nothing to be worried about it. But you pay less. You don't have to pay any fancy notary in a fancy neighborhood or anything like that. So that's also going to be in the contract, the name of the contract. And also it's going to be saying that you have 3 days to completely get out of the deal, say no, that you don't want the house anymore, and not paying any penalty, called cool off period. So what it means is, let's say you sign the contract today, so you have, today is Thursday, so that means you have Friday, Monday and Tuesday, because they have to be working days, 3 working days, to still wake up and say, nah, I don't like this house anymore. That's not what I want. It was just something that I saw it and I jumped it because it's crazy market. So that's fine. You don't even have to say why. You can just pull out of without saying anything on those 3 days and not paying any penalty. After that, if something happens, you will pay 10% of the purchase price. So if you pay 300, you're going to pay 30,000 euros to the seller, just because it is what it is. It's going to be in the contract, and that's how it works in the Netherlands. Of course, it's not gonna be just paid already. You're gonna have to have a lawyer. The seller's gonna have a lawyer. It's a process, but yeah, that's the penalty. And after you sign it, after those 3 days, the cool-off period is when your mortgage process will start. It's time to secure your whole process. From there on, you have 6 weeks to have your mortgage approved. What I think from the last 3 months, I would say, yes, after Christmas, it's going really fast with the banks. I had a client last week who her mortgage was approved in less than 2 weeks. It was super fast. It was amazing. So lately I get maximum 4 weeks max. So I'm not sure if it's with everybody. Of course, that's my experience so far this year. It's really fast. So I hope it's fast for you too, guys. But yeah, it doesn't really get longer than that so far. Notary. So the notary, I like the notary in the Netherlands because they do more than just prepare your mortgage deed. That's what is the mortgage deed, is the agreement between you and the bank, the provider you choose to do your mortgage. And the transfer deed is the agreement between you and the seller, again, passing the whole property to your name and your partner or whatever. So, but more than that, the bank also does a whole checkup in the property. Not the bank, the notary also does a whole checkup in the property. So what they do once they receive the purchase agreement, that's going to be 1 day or 2 days after you sign your purchase agreement, everybody signs. It will be sent to the notary, and the notary start the process. So they will prepare the mortgage deeds, they will prepare the transfer deed, and they will do a checkup in the whole house or apartment. And if it's an apartment, they will check up also, they will check the whole VVA, the owner associations, the whole VVA and the whole documents from the VVA as well. So which is quite nice because you have like double check. And I had a case once that my client bought an apartment and it came with the storage, and then the apartment was from a very old man. No, it was from a guy that was, I'm not your age, my age. Let's say, I don't know how old you are, but I would say my age because I'm super young. No, but the owner before, it was a very old man. So the storage, it was his storage. The first when he bought the apartment, was very far from the elevator. So he asked the neighbor next door, who had a storage really near to the elevator, to change storage. But it was just a conversation. They never went to the notary. They never do any paper or anything. So the apartment was sold again and again and again. And then when it came to my client, the documents only said storage and the number. So they were given still the number from the storage next to the elevator, but it was actually not from our apartment. Our storage, the real one, it was far away from the elevator. So the notary went to all the documents from the beginning, from the first agreement. They had to call it all the notaries, of course, to get all the documents. And then that's how they find out on the day we were there doing the transfer. So we had to call a few people and arrange the transfer of the storage rooms, because you see, it doesn't seem much, but if you have a bad person buy the other apartment and find out, it would be a disaster. You get a lawyer or say that you took his storage or whatever. You never know. People are crazy sometimes. So that's something. You see, the notary found out everything. It was not in any documents. We didn't see it anywhere. It took a while for the notary to find out. And then the day we were there, he's like, "Oh, we found out something today." And then they crossed all the documents and found out that. So that's something. It seems not much, but it is much if something comes up with the other person, with the other apartment. So that's what the notary does. They check out, and if it's a house, they would do all the checks as well to see, let's say the people who are selling the house are getting a divorce. So they need permission from both people. We did have a case once that the husband put the house for sale when they accepted our offer, and then it came the day to sign the purchase agreement. The wife, or ex-wife, almost ex-wife, she came in, it's like, no, not signing. I don't want to sell it. I'm not selling. I'm not helping this guy. She literally said that in front of all of us. So that's why the checkup of the whole document is very important, because they need permission to sell in this case. He didn't have it. So that's why the notary, check for all of it. So you see, and they will prepare everything for you. The bank, they will also transfer all the money to all the people. You don't transfer money to anyone, which is very safe. And then the notary has the security to do everything. You don't have to pay anything out of that. So it's very safe for you, for your money, especially if you're bringing money from abroad. You transfer to the notary, and the notary will do all the payments that had to be done. Let me see what else. Oh yes, you need an interpreter in the Netherlands as well. If you don't speak Dutch, if you're not fluent in Dutch, you need to have an interpreter. Here's a tip. With my first house, I wanted to have a Portuguese one so badly because I was so afraid to buy it. And then it cost me about 550 or so. And then for the second house, we were like, nah, an English is fine. It was 250. So get an English. It's cheaper. If you're good enough in English, just get an English one. You'll be fine. It's just cheap. Then after the whole process, you sign the purchase agreement. You have 6 weeks. Your mortgage got approved. Everything is fine. It's just time for you to wait to get your keys at the notary, the transfer date. Some properties, it will take a long time. My client saw a property today. We're going to put an offer on Monday. I think the property will be available only in September. And I had a client whose property is only going to be available in November. It's up to you to accept that, of course, but I'm not sure if there is much negotiation in the date of the transfer, because normally people who are selling, they need to buy another house, or they are building another house that is not ready, so they won't move out to a rental and then just go to the other house. So they will wait until everything's done. So you kind of have to accept the transfer date that they give it to you, unless of course you come with such an amazing offer, all money, 300,000 euros more than what they want. They would do everything you want, of course. But that's when the transfer date happened. Before, let's say, the houses you see now, we are mid of May, end of March, I would say you get your keys. Normally the whole process takes about 8 to 10 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 6 for the mortgage at least, and then 2 between you sign the purchase agreement, technical inspection, and appraiser. So that's 8. I would say you would get your keys beginning mid-May, beginning of June. Now, if you put an offer now, if you need a mortgage, of course. Otherwise, they can be early. So that's when, so let's say you're gonna get the keys on the 1st of June. What happened is in the 1st of June is that you're going to be, let's say it's 11 o'clock, you have to be at the notary to sign everything. An hour before that, an hour and a half, I would say, then you have time enough to drive or take a bus, whatever. You go into the property and it's time for you to do the final inspection. What is the final inspection? You're going there with the seller, the agent seller, your agent, and the seller as well. And you're going to walk in the house and look at the house and see if it's in the same state that you saw it the last time, right? When you signed the purchase agreement. Why? Because after that, the seller is not allowed to do anything in the house. It is going to be also in the purchase agreement that not even change a color of the wall. What they are allowed to do is fix something that broke in the meantime, but they do have to let you know, or fix something that it came up on the technical inspection. You both agreed that it had to be fixed, or what else he could do. He cannot break anything. We had a case that we came to the house and they broke the wall, the kitchen that was between the wall and the living room. So I got to the house with my client for the final inspection. I was like, oh, there was a kitchen here. There was a wall here. I'm sure there was a wall. And like, oh yeah, we never liked that wall. So we just broke it out. I'm like, no, that's no, it's not allowed. We bought the house with that wall. So that's a big problem. You see, that's a big problem. In this case, it was not that bad because my clients did like the way the house looked at the end without that wall. But we had a case that people had to fix it afterwards, what they did, because it's not allowed. So that's why we do the final inspection to see if everything it's okay. Don't expect to have a clean house like you want it to be clean, because that's not going to be the case. But it has to be in a good condition, right? That's when you test if the toilet is flushing, if the water is coming warm, if everything's fine with the boiler, with the CV, if the doors are working. I always tell my clients, test all the keys, because yeah, after the seller is gone and you're not able even to open your own house, and believe me, some people don't open. That's something not that bad, not that good. And also it's the time for you to understand how a lot of things work in the house. If you have floor heating, how does the floor heating work? Where is the button? Where is the pump? How do I put just how the house works, even how the kitchen works, right? So that's what we do in a final inspection. And also get all the meters, water, electricity, and gas, because from that day on is your own responsibility. So that's always going to be in a report, in a last inspection report, we call final inspection report. And then you're going to sign and the seller going to sign, and then that will be sent to you. You'll be sent to the notary, to your agents, and that's when you're ready to go to the notary. These days, you go in alone, you or your partner, and the translator, that's it, nobody else. But before, you would go with the seller as well. It was quite nice to be there and do the whole transfer, but not with Corona. It's everybody goes on different ways. And a few notaries are doing online as well. You give them power of attorney and they sign it for you, because just because of Corona time, it will change, I hope soon. But and then you go to the notary. It's time for you to sign everything, sign the purchase agreement, sign the transfer deed and the mortgage deed. And then from that day on, the house is your responsibility. Your house insurance have to be ready, and everything you need to that's time for you to move in. Also is the day that you pay everything. You have to pay the notary, you have to pay the translator, you have to pay the appraiser, you have to pay the technical inspection, you have to pay your mortgage advisor or the bank. The bank also charges to do your mortgage. It's a bit cheaper than a mortgage advisor, but they do charge the same. A lot of things are tax deductible. We will show you a little bit further. You have to pay your agent if you have one. So that's the time when you pay all your expenses. So you have to transfer that amount, around 4 to 5% of the purchase price, to the notary within maximum 24 hours before you get your keys. After you get your keys and everything is done, everything is paid, you have about 2 months liability to use, 2 months landlord liabilities to use the, I'd say, use the whole house as much as you can, turn on all the heatings, use the oven, the microwave, everything you can use in those 2 months to see if everything is working properly. Because if something is not working, you have to talk to the seller and they do have to fix it. I have to say it is a gray zone. There's no specific law for that, but they do have to. Again, you're going to have very nice sellers and you're going to have awful ones, but they do know that in the Netherlands that they have to fix it. Of course, if it's something that you did it, they won't fix it. I had a client once that put somehow a coin of the amount of coins fall in the dishwasher. So he called me and said, wow, the dishwasher broke. After 3 days, he moves. I'm like, how is it possible? What did you do? So no, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, okay, so you have to call the seller. So the seller, he called the seller. The seller came, but full of coins inside the little tube that was there. So it was my client's fault. So in this case, we did have, I also had a case that after 2 days, my client's moving. It was a storm in Eindhoven. I was actually beginning of February, I think it was. It was a lot of rain and some water came from the ceiling. And then my client called the seller and the seller went there and fixed everything. It was a lot of water as well, it was not common. But yeah, they did fix everything within a few days. So it's the liability that we say about 2 months. If that happens afterwards, then it's something different. You're gonna have to call a company to prove that the owner knew about it, the seller knew about it when they sold you, that it was really his responsibility or so. But during those 2 months, then it's something that you can talk about it. So let's see a little bit of a timeline. So from everything we talked to, let me turn on the light. So you start doing your search. You go to Funda or the Facebook from the agents that I told you. You make your appointment. You go to the view. You like the house a lot. It's you do everything you have to do. Remember, price research, look at the neighborhoods and look everything. Then you're ready to send an offer. Your offer gets approved. When your offer gets approved, it's time for you to have an appraiser seeing the house, to make your valuation report and also the technical inspection. I would count around maximum 2 weeks for everything, for all that to happen. Also signing, and after everything is signed, it's time for you to sign the purchase agreement. Once the purchase agreement is signed, you have your cool-off periods for 3 days, and then your mortgage application will start. So that's when the purchase agreement goes to the notary. So then we put it on an average of 4 weeks because that's what we've seen lately. It can be faster. I had clients that took long, but normally it's around 4 weeks. So you have for your mortgage to be approved. So your mortgage is approved. Then it's the time for you to wait. Get your final invoice of all the expenses you have to pay beside the house, of course. And then it's time for you to get your keys. You go to the notary, you sign the purchase agreement, purchase agreement. Again, I said purchase agreement. You sign your mortgage deed and transfer deed, and then you get your keys, and then you have the 2 months. Let's see, this one gets us better. You see, start, offer, signing, mortgage, handover, and liability. Purchase cost, that's what I was telling before, the 4 to 5% of the purchase price. What do you have to pay? So you have to pay the 2% taxes, the transfer taxes, if you are younger than 35 years old, if you never bought a house in the Netherlands, and you are able to move in before 1st of April, and your house is more expensive to 400,000 euros, you won't pay the 2% taxes after the 1st of April. So for now, it's any price into the 1st of April. After that, it's maximum 400,000 euros. Then you don't pay the 2% transfer taxes. You have to pay the mortgage or the bank to do your mortgage. So we put a cost around 1,500 to 3,400 because yeah, it really depends which company we work. Some companies are cheaper, more expensive. Our banks are cheaper. I think the bank is already more expensive. I think it's 1,800 already. So it got to be up last month. So you might have to change that, but please check with your bank how much it costs. So you have the notary cost between 1,350 to 2,500. You see that 50% of the mortgage debt is deductible, is tax deductible. So the next year you could claim that back. The real estate agent is 1 to 2%. They charge you from what you pay for the house. We at our company, we don't charge you a percentage. We have a fixed price. We don't have any amount of houses that you can see, or we can put an offer for you. There's no timeline for us. So it doesn't, if you work with us, we're not going to tell you you can see maximum 5 houses and we're going to put maximum 2 or 3 offers and that's it. No. If we are lucky enough to close a deal with the first house, good for us and good for you. But if it takes 25 houses, it's going to be 25 houses. You're going to be with us forever. So you stuck with us. So that's, we have a fixed charge. The translator costs between 250. I would say if your language is not so common, it can go up to 600 though. It really depends. I had a client from, where was she? Latvia was it? Yes. And it was really expensive. It really depends how, because they have to find someone, right? So if it's a very specific language, it's more difficult for them to find. So that's why I said go with the English. It's always cheaper. The appraiser, I believe here in Eindhoven is 550. Is also tax deductible. The inspector, we put it for 50, but in Eindhoven it costs 325 or something like that, and then to maximum 900 cubicles meter. I think is that. Yeah, it's a bit cheaper. We just put an average from the whole country, but it's cheaper. And the bank guarantee is the 10%. You can pay that from your own money, the 10% of the purchase price, or you can borrow the money from the bank. But of course, the bank will charge you a value. They always do. And what we didn't put it here, because not everybody is able to get any HG. That's one type of mortgage that it's cheaper. They have very cheap interest rates. They also have more security if you lose your job, if you get divorced, or those kind of things you cover. They will cover your mortgage for a while. They also charge, I believe, 0.7% from the purchase price as a tax once. They only charge once for you to be able to get that special type of mortgage. So that is around 4 to 5% of the purchase price that you need to have in cash. The money won't borrow the money. They only give you 100% of the value of the house, and that's it, nothing more. But if you don't have to pay the 2% transfer tax, if you're younger than 35, then and you never bought a house before, then you can count to 2 to 3%. That's even cheaper, right? So feel free to schedule a 15-minute intake with me if you like. That's my email address. That's our web page. It's never 15 minutes. I'm telling you, it's going to be half an hour because we always have questions and it's nice to talk about the whole process. But feel free to do so if you have more questions. We're going to answer all your questions now. But if you have questions, just let me know afterwards. If you remember something, just please let me know. I think this is our social media. Facebook and Instagram. We'll also have our LinkedIn. You're going to receive your email as well. Time for questions. Feel free to ask me. Ludo will help me out.
Yes, thank you very much. We already received some questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start from the top and work our way down. I have a question. Please don't mind my pronunciation of the answers, by the way. Of the names.
Thanks.
I'm doing my best. I have a question from Zainab. Is it crucial to do a construction survey or technical inspection for a house? And should I be skeptical if the owner refused to go through the survey?
Well, I would tell you, for example, if the house is very old and you get inside and you have this feeling that it is old, then I would say yes, because most likely you will find surprises or you will find stuff that need to be done in the house. But if it's a house, for example, I live in a house from 1929 and I renovate the whole house completely, pipes, wires, everything you can imagine is renovated. But you're going to see that in the documents of the house. So in my house, I would say you don't have to, because we did it everything. It's literally, you won't find anything. But it really depends on the documents, especially when you see in the documents that they have leakage, that the let's say it's a house from 1940s, and you see in the documents that the roof is still the one from 1940s, and they no one ever checked it. So I would say yes, you should. I think if you're thinking about the offer, I can never guarantee that it's going to be good or bad for you in the offer, but it's always going to be good for you to know what is happening with the house.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and here in Amsterdam, we do it quite often because most of the properties are actually quite old. So it's always good to know what you're buying.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I have a question from Marco. Marco says, part of my work compensation is company stock released quarterly. These are not directly included into my monthly payslip, but it's a good percentage of the annual salary. Are those considered by the bank?
Depends on the bank. You see, we had the same problem, so we had to go to Rabobank, and they did accept it. So that's why a mortgage advisor come in handy. He will know which bank will accept them for you.
Yeah.
I know ABN doesn't, but yeah, Rabobank does. But I don't know any other that it does. So that's why unfortunately you have to check with the mortgage advisor. But some of them do, yeah.
Cool. All right. Then I have a question from an anonymous attendee. He or she says, when do I start paying the monthly mortgage fees? Is that from the contract signature or from the handover date?
It's only from the handover date. That's a good thing. If you buy a house now, you sign everything next month, but you move in July. You only pay from July on everything. Definitely. The only thing I would say you pay now is the technical inspection. You would like to receive within a few days if you have one. The appraiser depends. It really depends on the company who is doing. Most of the companies are okay receiving their fee in the note. Yes, with the note with the last invoice. But yeah, your mortgage itself, it's only or us or your mortgage advisor, all of that you only pay at the end when you get your keys.
Yeah. Okay. All right, then I have a question from two questions actually from Anna. Her first question is, can you please share the Facebook groups you mentioned?
Oh yes, would you mind to send me an email with that to remind me, and then I can send you the name of the companies that you should follow.
So what I will do is I will put Diovana her email in the chat so that you can contact her.
Yes, then I can do that. That would be perfect.
Fantastic. And then her second question is, a buying consultant and a buying agent, are they the same thing?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay. It's just a different name. You can, just name it.
Real estate agent, whatever you want to call it.
It's just all of it. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Then the next question is from Rajiv. Rajiv asks, is the bank guarantee 1 or 10%?
10% of the purchase price. It's 10%. You can pay yourself with your own money, but then the notary will hold on to your money for, 5 months. You're not getting any interest rates on that. And then afterwards they will deduct it from your mortgage, or you pay that value, you pay 1% of your mortgage value to the bank for them to arrange the bank guarantee for you. But the value is 10%.
Okay. All right. Then a good question again from the anonymous attendee. Why do we actually need a translator if the notary speaks English?
They don't. They do speak English, but they're not going to speak the whole transfer deed, mortgage deed in English. They will speak in Dutch, actually. They will speak a few words with you, asking how you are and congratulate you, but they're not going to read the contract, and they're not going to go through the process in English. They're going to go in Dutch.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have a question from Johnny. And Johnny asks, does the service from your agency, from our agency, cost the same for purchasing a house and an apartment?
Yes, it's the same price.
It's always a fixed fee.
If you buy a property, it doesn't matter. We don't help you to buy a car, though. It's just a property.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Then we have a question from Paulius, if I'm saying that correctly. He or she asks, is it possible to find a mortgage without payoff penalties?
Ooh, I don't know about that. Without the payoff penalties. No, I would say no. I'm not 100% sure, but no, because the interest rates are so low in the Netherlands. They rather that you, no. I'm sorry, I don't think so. No.
No, that's it's always good to maybe double check with a mortgage advisor with these kind of questions, but.
What I did see people negotiating to be able to pay 20% a year instead of the 10% only. I did see that only once so far. I was last year. The bank did allow them to pay 20% instead of the 10% per year, but they also didn't have 100%. They have, I think, it was only 30% they needed as a mortgage. So that's why.
Okay. All right. Then the next question is from Christina. Christina asks, are there any advantages in the buying process or in any considerations to have when buying a house with solar panels?
Any considerations you mean regarding the mortgage or regarding the house itself?
Yeah, I think in the total, does it have an added value to have solar panels?
It does add actually a lot. Solar there is, for example, in the Netherlands you can have your mortgage, your normal mortgage, your 100. Let's say the bank gave you 300 as a budget. But you are allowed to have more. I think is around 9,000 euros as a different mortgage that is not included in your normal mortgage. Is a subsidy from the government to make your house greener as more energy efficient possible. So if let's say you buy a house without solar panels and then you decided to put it, the same amount that you're going to, let's say they cost 10,000 euros, the appraiser will put that the house is valued 10,000 euros more just because the solar panels. So it is a very good thing. Yeah, it is. And the house will be more expensive for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
But it will result in a higher energy label as well.
Exactly. So, you're going to have a much better energy label. Yeah. And that makes a difference when you sell the house as well.
Exactly. All right. And then we are already at our last question. It's from an anonymous attendee. I'm not sure if they mean NHG or mortgage. We're going to start with the original question. Here she asks, can I get NHG even if my company does not want to provide a letter of intent for an NHG?
I believe it's because you have a temporary contract as a work. So that's the letter you mean, maybe. So if you have a temporary contract, you are allowed to have a mortgage with a temporary contract, yes. But most of the banks will ask you for a letter of intent that they will hire and will give you a better contract in the future. And then, the bank it's always possible for the bank to deny if you don't have the letter. But yeah, that's something that it really depends which bank you're going to work with. Some banks will make that mandatory and some banks won't. So that's again when the mortgage advisor come in handy, because he will know which one you need that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, in the meantime, we received 2 new questions.
Good.
Again from Paulius, he or she asks, are the additional expenses of selling the house similar to the expenses of buying a house? So around 4 to 5% of the value?
No, they are less, but you do pay the percentage to a selling agent to sell your house, and then it's a percentage. They will charge you, it really depends on the agency, but they will charge you 1.8, 1.7 plus VAT as a percentage to sell your house. I think in Amsterdam it's even higher, maybe, Ludo, to sell.
Yeah, I think it between 1.5 and 2%.
Okay, yeah, but
Yeah.
other than that, you have, of course, you have to pay the taxes for the house, but the normal ones you pay when you leave the house. But there is no transfer taxes. You don't pay notary, for example.
Yeah.
Basically, you just pay the percentage for the agent, but if you are selling the house and you don't speak Dutch yet, you're gonna have to pay a translator again. And then what will happen is that if the other party also speaks English, they can use an English translator, so you can pay 50-50 to use the same translator, basically. But that's it.
That's perfect. All right. And then the next question is from Johnny. He asks, since the VVE handles maintenance for an apartment, is it still crucial to have a technical inspection for purchasing an apartment?
Well, the VVA handles the building, but not the apartment. They will handle the building itself, but they will not come inside your apartment and see if your radiators are working. They're not going to see if your kitchen is working. They're not going to see if there is mold in your bathroom. That's something you have to handle. The VV literally handles the building, nothing inside your apartment. So if we had apartments before with a lot of mold in the bathroom because they didn't have windows, and that's okay, but they also didn't have ventilation, which is really bad when you don't have a ventilation. So the VVA doesn't mind that.
That's your own
that's your own responsibility. So if the apartment is old and it didn't have any kind of renovation, or there's no windows in the bathroom, for example, then I would very much recommend it. But yeah, that also comes with the looking at the documents. You will see also a lot of information in the documents, and from the documents you feel that you will need it or not a technical inspection. Inspector, if they renovate everything, if they said there's nothing wrong with the apartment, go for it. Don't do it.
Exactly. All right. Okay. Then the next question, also from anonymous attendee. Do you know how student debts affect the amount of mortgage you get?
No, that I have no idea. Do you, Ludo?
Yeah, I was about to say I used to be a student, and I do indeed have a bit of a student debt. I know that in the Netherlands, you are not 100% obliged to actually tell anyone you have a student loan or a student debt. Of course, everyone appreciates it that you tell them, but as it is a special kind of debt, you are not obliged to tell anyone. My mortgage advisor back in the day told me, don't tell anyone. So hey, it doesn't have to affect anything. And even if you do tell them, it might affect it slightly, but not in the bigger picture. Just because it is actually marked as a specific kind of debt. If you have different kind of debts, then yes, it might affect it on a bigger scale.
But,
student.
If you have bigger, it does. I had clients that they have to give up their leasing card. I had people who had to give up their credit cards to be able to get a higher mortgage. Yeah.
All right. Then 2 questions from Zainab. Could you elaborate a little bit about the transfer tax and when it exactly it should be paid?
When it should be paid?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. The transfer tax is 2%. If someone already lived in the house before, if you have a family was there or anyone living there, then you have to pay transfer taxes. That is 2% from the purchase price. That you do the purchase, you purchase the price you purchase the house, the property. So, but if then you have to pay them when is also the transfer date, when you go to the notary. Only when you go to the notary. But if it's your first time buying a house in the Netherlands, and if you are younger than 35, then you don't have to pay them. It's a new one of the new measures that the Dutch government came up last year because of Corona. And until the 1st of April, now within a few weeks, if you buy a house with any value, you're not paying the transfer taxes. But after the 1st of April, it's maximum 400,000. But you only pay them when you go to the notary with the other expenses.
Exactly. Okay, and then her second, his or her second question is also, is there a VVE for houses, just like there is for apartments?
Yeah, there is. The new houses where, Merhoven here in Eindhoven, it's their part. In Merhoven area, for example, they built the house like in a circle, and then they put a garage. They put all the garage behind the houses, and they put a big gate here and a gate here. So they close it, and the houses are looking to that side. So to maintain the area, a lot of them have little playgrounds, and it's a street, but it's closed for the people who live there. I know there they pay a lot of people pay around 30 to 35 euros every 3 months. There are houses on Woensel. They also have a back part of the house where you can park your car, or you have storage room that's open up to that side. And sometimes they do have, but it's quite cheap for the house. Is about, I would say, no max than 50 euros, and for every 3 months or so. 15 euros, I saw it already, but there are not many. But when you have a little bit of a private behind the houses, then you might have VVA, yes.
But then the VVE is only for the maintenance of the
Of
extra
that
parking.
little area, yeah,
but not for the roofs also.
No, it doesn't cover. It doesn't cover like the buildings, for example. They cover they cover the whole building that has insurance and everything. No, it's just for that little area behind the houses, for specific. That's why it's so little. And also, a lot of them are kind of more like in a neighbor association that to make the payments. Not a lot of them are companies. And a VVA from a building, it's actually a company. They have to open a institution. It's an institution, not a company, but it's an institution. In the case for the houses, it's more like a neighbor. You have to pay. It's official, but it's more like a neighbor thing, just for that little area, to maintain that little area.
Okay, all right. I think we are there.
Yes. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone. As I told you, you're going to receive this presentation via email, and also the PowerPoint, the presentation, the video of the presentation as well. You have my email. Feel free to call us if you want to schedule an intake. It's free, and we can talk. You can tell you about our package and how we can help you to find your house, to look for a house, to buy a house in Eindhoven area. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a nice evening. Thank you, Ludo, again.
Thank you, Diovana. Thank you for everyone for staying so long. And
yes, right.
Indeed, wish you a good evening, everyone.
Yes. Have a nice one, guys. Bye-bye.